crystal glass shattered against the marble floor, and Claire Ross froze in the doorway of Luigi Verone's private office, her heart hammering against her ribs. She wasn't supposed to be here, not at 11:30 at night, not when the penthouse should have been empty except for the night security downstairs. But she'd forgotten her phone in the cleaning cart, and now she stood paralyzed as the most dangerous man in Manhattan turned to face her, his dark eyes blazing with an intensity that made her skin burn. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Verone. I didn't know anyone was here. I'll come back tomorrow for my—" Claire's words died in her throat as Luigi crossed the room in 3 long strides, his hand wrapping around her wrist with surprising gentleness. "How long have you been standing there?" His voice was low, controlled, but she could hear the edge of something darker underneath, something that made her pulse race for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. "I just arrived. I swear I didn't see or hear anything. Please, I need this job." "Claire." The way he said her name made her look up, meeting those penetrating eyes that seemed to see straight through her. "I'm not going to fire you, but I need you to tell me the truth. Have you noticed anything unusual in this office? Anything out of place?" Her mouth went dry. This was it, the moment she'd been dreading for 3 days, ever since she'd found it while dusting the bookshelf behind his desk. She'd told herself to stay quiet, to mind her own business, to remember that girls like her didn't survive in Luigi Verone's world by asking questions. But looking at him now, at the tension in his jaw and the concern flickering behind that carefully controlled exterior, she couldn't stay silent. "There's a camera in your office," she whispered, the words rushing out before she could stop them. "Hidden in the spine of the law book on the 3rd shelf, the one with the gold lettering." Luigi's entire body went still. For a moment, Claire thought she'd made a terrible mistake. Then his thumb brushed across her wrist, right over her racing pulse, and his expression shifted into something that made her knees weak. "Show me." He didn't let go of her wrist as she led him to the bookshelf. Claire reached up, her fingers trembling as she pulled out the leather-bound volume of corporate law that probably cost more than her entire year's salary. She opened it carefully, revealing the hollowed-out interior and the tiny camera lens pointed directly at his desk. "Madonna Santa," Luigi breathed, his accent thickening with anger. His hand tightened on her wrist, not enough to hurt, but enough to ground her as his other hand pulled out his phone. "How long have you known about this?" 3 days. "I'm sorry, I should have told you immediately, but I was scared. I didn't know if it was something you'd placed there yourself, or if telling you would put me in danger, or—" "Look at me, Claire." Luigi's voice cut through her panic, firm but not harsh. When she met his eyes, she saw something that stunned her. Concern, real, genuine concern for her safety. "You did the right thing by telling me now. But I need you to understand something. Whoever planted this camera knows you work here. If they've been watching, they may have seen you discover it." The implication hit her like ice water. Oh God. "Listen to me carefully." Luigi set the book down and turned to face her fully, both hands now framing her arms, his touch warm through the thin fabric of her uniform. "From this moment on, you don't leave this building without security. You don't talk to anyone about what you found, and you definitely don't go home tonight. I can't just stay here, my apartment, my things. I'll send someone to collect whatever you need, but right now, your safety is what matters." His jaw clenched, a muscle ticking beneath the sharp line of his cheekbone. "These people, whoever they are, they don't play games, and I won't let them hurt you because you were brave enough to warn me." Claire's breath caught as Luigi's dark eyes searched her face with an intensity that felt almost physical. She'd worked in his penthouse for 8 months, maintaining the pristine luxury of his $30 million residence. But she'd never been this close to him. Never close enough to see the flecks of gold in his irises or smell the intoxicating combination of expensive cologne and something uniquely him. "Why do you care?" The question escaped before she could stop it. "I'm just your maid." Something dangerous flashed across Luigi's face. "You stopped being just anything the moment you risked yourself to warn me, Tesoro." The Italian endearment sent heat spiraling through her stomach. Before she could respond, Luigi released her and pulled out his phone, his expression hardening into the ruthless businessman she'd glimpsed in passing. He spoke rapidly in Italian, his voice sharp with command, and Claire caught enough words to understand he was ordering a security sweep of the entire building. "Tony will be here in 10 minutes, Luigi said, switching back to English as he pocketed his phone. "He's my head of security. He'll ask you questions about when you found the camera, if you've noticed anyone suspicious around the building, things like that. I need you to tell him everything, no matter how insignificant it seems. Can you do that for me?" Claire nodded, her mind racing. She'd heard stories about Luigi Verone. Everyone in New York had. The young billionaire who'd inherited his family's empire at 19 and turned it into something even more powerful. The man who moved in circles where billion-dollar deals happened over whiskey and handshakes, where loyalty was everything and betrayal meant disappearing into the East River. She'd never believed she'd be anything more than invisible to him. A face he passed in the hallway, a name he might remember if pressed. But now he was looking at her like she mattered. Like her safety was important enough to disrupt his entire night. "There's something else," Claire said quietly. "I don't know if it means anything, but 3 weeks ago I saw someone in the building I didn't recognize. A woman. She was coming out of the service elevator on this floor, and when she saw me, she looked startled. She said she was looking for the gym, but the gym is on the 10th floor. Everyone who lives here knows that." Luigi's expression turned predatory. "Describe her." "Mid-30s, blonde, expensive clothes. She had a Hermes bag and Louboutin heels. Definitely not service staff." "Did she give you a name?" Claire shook her head. "She left before I could ask. But Mr. Delgado was here that day, your advisor. He might have seen her." Something flickered across Luigi's face too quickly for Claire to read. "Marcus was here? Are you certain?" "Yes. He arrived around 2, about an hour before I saw the woman." Luigi turned away, his hands bracing against his desk as he stared down at the polished surface. Claire watched the tension coil through his shoulders, saw the way his fingers pressed against the wood hard enough to whiten his knuckles. "Mr. Verone, did I say something wrong?" "No, Cara. You said something very right." He straightened, turning back to her with an expression that made her stomach flip. "Which is exactly why you're not leaving my sight until I know who's behind this." Before Claire could process that statement, the elevator chimed. Luigi moved in front of her instinctively, his body a shield between her and the doors, and Claire felt something shift in her chest at the protective gesture. A mountain of a man emerged from the elevator, his scarred face softening slightly when he saw Luigi. "Boss, we've got a problem." "I'm aware, Tony. This is Claire Ross. She found a camera in my office." Luigi gestured to the bookshelf without taking his eyes off his security chief. "I want this entire floor swept immediately. Every room, every air vent, every goddamn flower pot. And I want to know who's had access to this penthouse in the last month besides household staff." Tony's gaze shifted to Claire, assessing her with professional efficiency before nodding. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to walk me through exactly what you found and when." For the next 20 minutes, Claire recounted every detail she could remember while Luigi paced the office like a caged panther, his phone pressed to his ear as he conducted his own investigation in rapid Italian. Tony's questions were thorough but not intimidating, and gradually, Claire felt her racing heart begin to slow. Until Tony said, "We found 3 more cameras, one in the master bedroom, one in the living room, and one in the wine cellar." Luigi's expression turned murderous. "The wine cellar? Who the hell has access to my wine cellar?" "That's the interesting part, boss. According to the access logs, only 3 people have been down there in the last month. You, Marcus Delgado, and Vincent Caruso." The name hit the room like a bomb. Claire didn't know much about New York's underworld, but even she knew the Caruso family. Old money, old power, and old grudges. "Vincent Caruso hasn't set foot in this building in 5 years, Luigi said, his voice deadly quiet. "Not since his daughter and I ended our engagement." Claire's eyes widened. Luigi had been engaged? To a Caruso? "Then someone's spoofing his access card," Tony replied. "Or he gave it to someone else." Luigi's jaw clenched. "Get me everything you have on the Caruso family's movements in the last 6 months. Business deals, property acquisitions, every damn dinner reservation, and double the security on this floor. No one gets up here without my explicit authorization." "What about Miss Ross?" Tony asked, glancing at Claire. "Where do you want her?" "The guest suite in the east wing. It's the most secure room after my bedroom, and it shares the same security system." Luigi's eyes found Claire's, and the intensity there made her breath catch. "You'll be comfortable there. Anything you need, just ask." "I can't impose on you like this," Claire protested weakly. "Maybe I could just stay at a hotel." "No." The single word was absolute. "Hotels can be compromised. Here, I can protect you. But why would anyone want to hurt me? I'm nobody." Luigi crossed the room in 2 strides, stopping close enough that Claire had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. "You're a witness, Claire. You found evidence that someone is spying on me. That makes you valuable. And in my world, valuable things are either protected or exploited." His hand rose, his fingers brushing a strand of dark hair from her face with unexpected tenderness. "I choose to protect you." The touch sent electricity racing across Claire's skin. She should step back, should remember that this man was dangerous, that his world was built on secrets and power plays she couldn't begin to understand. But she couldn't make herself move away from the warmth of his presence. "What if I don't want to be protected?" she whispered. Something hot and hungry flashed in Luigi's eyes. "Then you're going to have to convince me you're safer without me, Tesoro. And I should warn you, I'm not easily convinced." A phone buzzed, shattering the moment. Luigi pulled back with visible reluctance, checking the screen and frowning. "Tony, take Claire to the guest suite. Make sure she has everything she needs." "Wait," Claire said as Luigi turned toward the elevator. "Where are you going?" He paused, glancing back at her with an expression that was equal parts dangerous and devastatingly attractive. "To have a conversation with Marcus Delgado. He has some explaining to do about Vincent Caruso's access card." "At midnight?" Luigi's smile was sharp enough to cut. "In my world, Kara, the most important conversations happen when most people are asleep. Don't worry, I'll be back before morning." As the elevator doors closed behind him, Claire felt an inexplicable twist of worry in her chest. She barely knew this man, had spoken more words to him tonight than in all the previous 8 months combined. But something had shifted between them in that office. Something that felt dangerous and thrilling and completely impossible. "Miss Ross?" Tony's voice was gentle despite his intimidating appearance. "Let me show you to your room. The boss would have my head if anything happened to you while he was gone." Claire followed him through the penthouse, her mind spinning. Just 12 hours ago, her biggest concern had been whether she'd have enough money to send her sister Emma for the nursing program she wanted to attend. Now she was caught in the middle of something she didn't understand, protected by a man whose touch made her forget every reason she should stay away. The guest suite was stunning, all cream silk and soft lighting, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Manhattan skyline. Tony did a sweep of the room, checking every corner before nodding with satisfaction. "You're safe here, Miss Ross. This room has reinforced windows, a panic button by the bed, and a direct line to the security office. If you need anything at all, you press that button and someone will be here in 30 seconds. "Thank you, Tony, and please, call me Claire." The big man's expression softened. "Get some rest, Claire. The boss will want to talk to you more in the morning, and he's going to have a lot of questions." After Tony left, Claire sank onto the edge of the massive bed, her hands trembling slightly as the adrenaline began to fade. She should be terrified, should be planning how to extract herself from the situation as quickly as possible. Instead, all she could think about was the way Luigi had looked at her, the way his touch had felt, the way he'd said her name like it was something precious. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Sleep well, Tesoro. You're safe now." Claire's heart skipped as she stared at the message. How had he gotten her number? More importantly, why did knowing he was thinking about her make her feel safer than any security system could? She typed back, "How did you know I'd be worrying?" His response came immediately, "Because you have a tell. You bite your lower lip when you're nervous. It's distracting as hell." Heat flooded Claire's cheeks. He'd noticed that. She found herself touching her lip, remembering the intensity of his gaze. "Get some rest." Luigi's next message read, Tomorrow, things get complicated. Claire looked out at the glittering New York skyline, at the city that suddenly felt full of shadows and secrets. She'd wanted adventure, had dreamed of a life bigger than scrubbing floors and counting